So today we will be looking at a very special visual approach. It's the circling approach for runway 36 into Calvi Airport on the island of Corsica. The airport itself is situated in a very, very special spot. It's on the island, as I said, and it's surrounded by quite mountainous terrain. And while this is something that counts for a lot of airports, this one can only be approached directly. So there's only one straight-in approach, and it's the one for runway 18. If you have to land on runway 36 because of the weather, of course, then you would have to do a circling approach, a circling maneuver. And that's exactly what we are going to look at today. There's the airport, and first thing you'll notice is the mountain range here. So mountains bad, water good. You can't really approach coming from the north for obvious reasons. Would just be too steep of an approach angle. I don't think we have to talk about that. That's out of the question. So what we're basically going to do is we'll approach from the south towards the beach. At one point, turn to the right, aiming directly for that quarry here. And as soon as we're abeam the quarry, we'll initiate the left turn, turning final onto the runway. Now, you'll need some sort of aiming point, and I'll always take this road here because it's roughly in line with the runway. But think about it. In the turn, we're working with quite a steep bank angle here, roughly between 20 and 25 degrees. So you won't be seeing anything, or you won't be seeing the runway because it's basically behind you. So it'll take quite some time into the turn until you'll finally be able to see the threshold or to aim for the runway directly. So that leaves us with the problem that we don't have that much space, nor have we that much time to correct any errors that might occur. So you don't want to overshoot too much. You don't want to undershoot too much because there's only so much time to correct any error in terms of placement or alignment with the runway. So that's definitely something to consider. Yeah. So let's have a look at the chart. So if you want to pull a chart for the visual segment, it's not published on Navigraph. You would have to search certain online resources and you'll surely find one. I found one of the Navigraph forums, this one. And as you can see, it's nothing too special. It's pretty easy. The procedure starts at 4.2 DME from Charlie Lima, India, which is the VOR, and which also happens to be our missed approach point. Missed approach, our minimum descent altitude is 1,400 feet, which might be a problem today because we have a quite low-hanging cloud base. So we might not even be visual at the time we reach the minimum descent altitude. I'm gonna do it nonetheless, but technically, yeah, of course, this would be a problem. Also, I doubt that anybody would be really landing in these conditions. So the weather right now would probably constitute for a diversion because right now we have a winds of 20 knots gusting 40 knots. So we'll be probably facing quite a strong crosswind as we are turning final. Crosswind from the right, gusting up to 35 to 40 knots. So it's going to be pretty dicey, but nonetheless, I think we'll do this. I don't want to change the weather condition because it makes it a little more interesting. Yeah, where was I? Okay, the approach, the circling, the layout. At a distance of 4.2 Charlie Lima, India, which is the VOR, we'll do a right turn 190 degrees until we are abeam the threshold for runway 18. Then we'll turn left another 10 degrees, which brings us parallel to the runway. for 20 seconds, so you can use the timer, or you can start the turn just when you are beam the quarry. Setting the timer for 20 seconds, which should take you beam the quarry. Of course, you should be in full landing configuration by now. So these 20 seconds only work if you are at a reasonable speed of about 140 knots or so. Wouldn't work at 160 or 170, would take you straight into the mountain. So after 20 seconds and the beam the quarry, will initiate the left turn, roughly between 20, 25 degrees of bank. In these conditions, probably even less, because you have to think about that the wind is actually working against us. And this, if we're doing a left turn and the wind is coming from the right, it of course pushes us to the left. Even more so if we're doing this at a bank angle of 20 degrees. So we'll probably go with as little as 15 to 20 degrees. So we won't be undershooting too much. And there's not a lot of time to realign yourself with the runway on the final segment. And as I said, the wind's pretty horrible right now. There's also rain coming in every now and then, so the runway condition, yeah, it looks dry, but there's will be a little bit of water or wetness involved on the runway. Not too much, but just to think about it and to plan ahead. So at the moment, we're en route to our initial approach fix, Ilru, which is the initial approach fix to the localizer runway 18 approach, which serves as the, if you will, entry point for our circling. And as I said, at the 4.2 DME from the Calvi VOR, we are initiating a right turn, 190 degrees towards that mountain slope, then another 10 degrees to the left until we are in the quarry, and from there on we do the turn on final approach course. On the climb out, I noticed that the minimum descent altitude of 1,400 we are supposed to have at the missed approach point is roughly, or is exactly where the cloud base is. So we might not even be visual upon reaching the missed approach point. In any case, I'm still going to continue from there on, even though it would call for a go around, because the weather around the airport is pretty good and we should be visual a couple of seconds later. And if that doesn't work, I'll keep descending down to roughly 1,100 feet, because that's 1,000 feet above field elevation. Yeah, the destination data has been set. We have a local QNH of 1014, winds 050, 30, gusting up to 40 actually, at least according to the last METAR. 30, gusting 40. I really hope we're not facing that, because that nobody would do this in real life. That's suicidal. Minimum descent altitude, as I said, 1400. Let's see if we are visual by then. And flaps full landing, so no conflict re-landing in these conditions, of course. Other than that, we are pretty ready for that. There's a direct 2 going on, which I'm going to execute now, the direct to the initial approach fix. Let's do that. There's the turn and everything else. Seatbelts are on, landing lights are on. temperature 12 degrees. No need for anti-ice here. Okay. Still 15 miles to go before we can get this show on the road. Auto brake is set to low. And as I said beforehand, the rain keeps coming in and going again. So it's the runway still counts as dry, I would say. So there's no wetness or no standing water, nothing like that. So we'll go with auto brake low. We also are fairly light, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. There we are. Take another sip of water. One other thing, I'm going to switch off the GPWS so I won't get any terrain nuisance warnings on the final segment, because it's stressful enough as is. Don't want to have the plane shouting at me. Okay, I think I'm going to activate the approach phase now to give the plane enough time to slow itself down. Approach phase activated. Let's also set the minimum descent altitude 1,400 feet for the descent. Set. There's green dot speed. Now let's go flaps 1. Speed check, flap 1. Flap 2, speed check, flaps 2. Now the final mile before our descent begins. Gear down, flaps 3, speed check, flaps 3. 0.4 miles, 0.3 miles, 0.2 miles. starting the descent. Alt blue, open descent. Switching to track FBA now. And let's see if there's something to see. Terrain, for example, which would be nice.
2,500.
Okay, gears down, heat brake armed, lights. Pre-selecting our breakaway track now, 190 degrees.
100 above.
We're almost seeing something. Altitude has been captured. Okay, that's good enough in terms of seeing something out there. There we are. And there's the runway, good. Track select 190 to the right. Good.
Minimum.
Continue. Holding back on flap full for a couple of seconds. Doesn't look too bad actually. Flaps full. So the wind seems to be roughly about 20 to 24 knots down there. Heading's pretty consistent. No, it's not. It's okay. Okay, landing checklist. ECAM memo, landing no blue. There's the threshold. Almost. Let's descend to 1,100 feet. There's the threshold. Left track 180. Start the timer, 20 seconds. There's the quarry. "15 seconds. 20 seconds. Autopilot off. Flight director off. There we are.
500. 400. 300.
Whoops. Easy on the bank angle. There's the street. Profile looking good. One red. Oh my god. Why am I doing this?
300. 200.
Oh god.
100.
Red, it's okay.
50, 40, 30, 20, retard, 10, retard, 5.
Sixty knots, reverse outs, auto brake off.
Auto brake off.
Woo! Let me catch my breath. That was interesting because the wind actually turned into a headwind on the final segment. So I think it was like 15 or 16 knots, but straight to the face, which wasn't the worst thing to happen, to be honest. Okay, let me turn it around here and then we'll have a look at the outside view. Ooh, but it was tense. That much I can tell you. That was tense. I got thrown around a lot. You can believe me that. So that, in a nutshell, was the visual approach runway 36 into Calvi. I really hope you enjoyed it and you liked it. And now for the usual YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit buttons, I don't know what, notifications, whatever you wanna do, just don't. As you please. Anyways, this was episode 1 of, I think I'm going to call this Crazy Approaches. Not really that creative, but I can't think of another name right now. Anyways, next one will be probably somewhere in Greece because there are a few of my personal favorite approaches, and we will have a look at those. Until then, see you next time.